we went into turtle mode. That was the first time that I have seen that. Hello again and welcome back to another episode of E-Wheeler Finland. Today it's all about the range, that's right. So at the moment our GOM is saying, let me just show you here, 339 kilometers. It's feeling optimistic. I reset both of the trip computers and like I said, it's all about the range. So this is the first and only time that you will be seeing us using the eco mode on the mode selector. The aircon is still on auto and I will be keeping it in 22 degrees. The weather is favorable, so it's relatively cool. I won't be needing the aircon. So that should mean good for the power consumption. And I will be using mainly smaller, more efficient roads. The main speed limit is 80 kilometers an hour, so I will be doing that plus a little bit. In the places where we pass small villages or there's like a bigger intersection, there's going to be 60 kilometer an hour speed limit for a while. But I would say that about 90% of this trip will be 90% of the street driving is going to be 80 kilometers an hour on this trip. But of course we are going to include some 100 kilometers an hour into the measurement and also some city driving to get as close to real life as possible, but avoiding the motorways, because like I've told you on the previous videos, this car is not really created for the motorways. It doesn't like the high speeds, and that's not what it's built for. So that's why I'm going to do this test on regular roads, on roads that this car is meant to be driving on. So hopefully we get a nice reading. The problem is that this is going to take a long time. I'm estimating something like 4 hours minimum for the test, so let's see, but it will be interesting for sure. We will see what the range is actually. I will try to do the test in a way that we will be having something like 5% maybe in the battery after the whole test is finished, so we can get as accurate reading as possible. And based on previous experience, the power measuring of this car, it's actually quite accurate. So if we can get it down to 5%, we will know what the rest will give us, so it's easier to calculate. But yeah, let's get going. Okay, so we are on the road now, doing 85, so real speed is 80. GOM is still saying 334 kilometers. Yeah, it will be really interesting. So far so good, the weather is favorable, everything is favorable, so let's see. So my wife is not going to be joining us today, and I thought it would be best to do this range test without excess weight. Of course, my wife doesn't weigh that much, wink wink. So yeah, we have basically all the requirements for a good trip and good range. Hopefully we don't have too many obstructions or anything. And yeah, someone already asked me once before what kind of region setting I'm using. So I'm using the highest, meaning the B mode on this car, like always, because that gives you the possibility to adjust it with the throttle pedal. You don't have to do anything else. So based on the level of regen you want. You just lift off slightly more gently, or you lift it all the way. There's like you can do all kinds of variation with the throttle pedal, so yeah, that's the easiest way. Because this test would obviously take far too long if I would just hang around in the corners of my own home, I'm selecting a route that is about 50 kilometers long, and I'm going to be using majority of the battery on this stretch of road, which is mostly 80 kilometers an hour. And then when I get low enough in the range, when the GOM is saying something about 50 kilometers or less, now it's still saying 318. But when it's down to like 50 kilometers or something, then I will be using a shorter route which has many charging points along the route, so I can basically drive the battery really low and I don't have to worry about charging. So hopefully everything goes really well, because I want this to happen, and because I don't want to really do any range testing on this car. That's not really my kind of way of doing things. I like normal driving more, and this is more a curiosity thing, so that people watching can also know like what kind of real life readings you can actually get when using different settings and with variable load in the car. The eco mode you can really like feel, even at these temperatures. We are at 17 degrees outside. You can really feel the change in temperature. It's like really not all that comfortable, and it doesn't really heat that much the air. So based on my experiences so far, when the weather gets colder, like in the late autumn, I would suspect this is the case, or in the winter, I would never ever use the Eco or Eco Plus modes for traveling, because let's face it, the driving shouldn't be pain and torment. It should be a nice, comfortable ride. And if you are sacrificing heating and putting on extra clothes because of that, that's not really the way to go. I mean, if you want to maximize the range or whatever, you can do whatever you feel like, but that's not how we do it. So I am sacrificing a lot of my own comfort at the moment just because of this test, and I can't even imagine how cold it would be if it would be in Eco Plus mode. So yeah. Okay, time for the driver to have a pee break and some coffee. We are in Hämeenlinna at the moment. We have done now exactly 50 kilometers, and the GOM says that we still have 267 kilometers of range left. So I already know that this is going to be a super long day, but interesting, really interesting. So far my main observation has been that if you use the eco mode on this car, it doesn't really keep the temperature inside the car. So even though it shouldn't restrict the comfort level too much according to the owner's manual, but if you have a temperature setting like I have, it's the same 22 always. Outside temperature at the moment is 17.5, 18 degrees, and HVAC system is basically giving me outside air at the moment. So it's not really warm inside the car. That's my main observation so far. Otherwise, really nice and no hiccups so far. Okay, that was our refreshing coffee break done. Coming back to our car now. We are going to continue the same kind of road that we did so far. And possibly there's going to be a little bit of 100 kilometers an hour also. But that's it. Okay, let's see if we can waste some energy. So far the car has been super frugal, so I think I will need to extend my route a little bit so that we can have a little bit easier driving. I don't want to be driving back and forth the same stretch of road. But the speeds we will be doing, it's roughly the same the whole trip. So most of the way it's 85 kilometers an hour. Okay, let's go. What I really like about this car is the GOM, because on this car it's really fast reacting, the GOM. What I mean is that when you adapt your own driving style, if you're running out of battery, for instance, if you're low on battery and you want to extend the range, you want to get as far as possible before charging, or you need to get really far with low battery, when you adapt your driving style with this car, the GOM reacts very fast to the change of driving style. So it will give you a realistic reading all the time. And on some cars, the GOM is slow reacting, and that means that if you are running low on battery, you can't really tell the difference from the GOM, and that can be sometimes a problem. Really is lovely driving around here in Finland. We have lots of water, everything is so green. I really love the summer in Finland. And just so that no one can tell us that this has been a slow trip and that's why the power consumption is low, we are doing 105 kilometers an hour at the moment. This is a little bit of distance, so it's not about slow driving, it's driving normally on A and B roads between 85 and 105 kilometers an hour, and sometimes we will be driving in the city also. But we are not driving slowly. Okay, so time for another pee break for the driver. At the moment we have, I think, 46% battery left. So we will be taking a small break and I will have a look at the scenery here. There's something to see also. and then we will be continuing our quite boring journey, but at least the weather is quite nice at the moment. The problem is that there's slight rain. I don't know how much that affects our range test, but there's slight rain and mild wind. It's like 2 meters per second maybe, so hopefully not too much headwind. But that might have a little bit of effect. So far we have been doing really well. The consumption is super low, so hopefully everything continues this way. An ancient relic, and the plane is quite old also. Okay, we will start our journey again, continue with our range testing. That is a cute camper van thing that someone is using a old VW bus, and I think that is a German-made kitchen on wheels at the rear. Okay, so time for another coffee break for the driver. We still have 106 kilometers on the go. I stopped for coffee in one of my favorite places here in southern Finland, Mommila Village Shop. Really nice coffee and freshly made pies and pastries. And if you're not driving, you can even have a beer here. But super nice and green place to spend some time. So nice place to have a cup of coffee and just sit and absorb the ambient feelings. It's like really nice nostalgic place. Okay, so we are approaching the point where I start to think about where to charge. We still have about 12% of battery left, 12 or 13% maybe. I haven't checked. And so far the average consumption on this whole trip has been 114 watt hour per kilometer. So 11.4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And about 1/4 of the whole trip has been 105 kilometers an hour. So yeah, if you only use slower roads like 80 kilometers an hour, you can even improve on this a lot, but the car is saying convenience restricted. Yes, I know. So I will still be consuming a little bit of power, and then I will find a place to charge. Okay, so finally we came to the charger. So GOM says that we have 16 kilometers left. We went into turtle mode. That was the first time that I have seen that. Average consumption for the whole trip 11.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, so 112 watt hour per kilometer. And let's see what the distance was according to the car. 247 kilometers. So according to this, we would have made it to 263 kilometers. And there's 3% in the battery at the moment. Yeah, 263 kilometers roughly, and that's actually quite good, because the fact is that I drove almost 1/4 of the distance was 105 kilometers an hour, and normally that takes a lot of electricity. And then there was like 1/3 of the way there was headwind, something like 4 meters per second. So yeah, I would consider that good result. Although I would have expected it to have even more, because we were using eco mode the whole way. But the weather was so nice and cool that I don't think that the HVAC system was actually using a lot of electricity. So that's why probably the eco mode didn't help us at all, or very little. But yeah, really good consumption, so I'm happy with the result. Especially considering the speed we were doing, so this is really low. Okay, let's put the car on charge. As always, follow us on Twitter, and let's see you again on the next video.